Banger after banger after banger, Egghead Island is probably the best arc in One Piece. Hey everybody, I'm DJ, aka Mushroom Man, and today we're gonna cover chapters 1081 through 1083 of One Piece. Rather than going through it once a week, I'm gonna cover 3 chapters in a row during the break weeks. Dude, what is going on? Like, these 3 chapters of One Piece are probably the most insane, dense, just lore dump, action-packed things we've ever seen in a long time. So starting off with chapter 1081, Kuzan, 10th captain of the Blackbeard Pirates. I just love how not subtle Oda is with his title. This happens a lot in anime. Like, there's literally an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the Japanese version called Jonochi Dies. Like, no, there you go. So first off, I just want to say, yeah, my predictions were wrong. So we're not back on Egghead Island. We haven't been on Egghead since chapter 1079. It's literally been almost 2 months since we've seen the Straw Hats. Because I just, assumed that, we'd be back on Egghead because, Oda's thing of just like having a big, massive cliffhanger at the end of a chapter and then immediately going to something different in the next chapter. So I thought, bam, this happens, back on Egghead. No, we're just going to continue on with the story or do something completely different. So like, that's fine. So we get a color spread, a really nice cover spread of just the boys hanging out and, Sanji looking at some cocking. Nothing wrong with that. So this chapter continues from where we left off on 1080 with sword members fighting off the Blackbeard Pirates. Garp lands, it's just like, man, could have done better. So I'm just like, dude, that was literally insane. This man's literally throwing nukes casually and just like, I could have done better. God, to anybody saying Garp wasn't a strong fighter, what? And then, we see Hibari come into Kobe, but then she immediately gets frozen. She's like, oh shit. Actually, Aokiji Kuzan is not heading to Egghead Island like literally all of us thought. He's on Blackbeard's island and is defending it, and then we get this cool fight with Garp versus Kuzan. That fight doesn't last long because Garp immediately just yeets this man. But then, speaking of which, we get a flashback of when Kuzan first joined the Blackbeard Pirates like 2 years ago, not long after the battle with Kuzan and Akainu. And then they talk for a little bit, sort of like hostile at first, but then Kuzan eventually warms up to the Blackbeard Pirates and kind of talks about how he like left the Marines and actually confirms that, yeah, he did lose his leg fighting Akainu, which is pretty cool because the first time that we saw that was from the Film Z movie, which isn't canon. So it's cool that there are small little bits from these non-canon movies that are put into the canon story of One Piece, which is cool. And then Lafitte talks to Aokiji about if he knows or even is the man marked with flames, as the man marked with flames supposedly is the one who has the final road poneglyph. And he's like this mysterious dude who has this like big black ship just sailing around, and like anybody who comes near him will be swirled in by a whirlpool. Supposedly it's like a devil fruit, who knows? But it's interesting. And then, there's a lot of theories with that, how a bunch of people assume, which honestly I don't agree with, a bunch of people assume that the man marked with flames, originally the theory was that it was Jagger D. Saul. When they mentioned, the man marked with flames, not too long before that, we were talking about, Jagger D. Saul and how he's like, has burn scars and all this stuff. That's probably just like, Oda probably did that on purpose as sort of like, add some fake candidates. And then, again, with Aokiji, which they even made a bit with that, where Aokiji, after hearing the story, is like, oh, was it me? And then shows his burn scars, like, no, it's not you. But then, like, honestly, the dumbest theory to me is that people assume it's Scopper Gabon, one of Gold D. Rogers' crewmates, which I highly don't think it is. I genuinely don't think it is. I don't know why. It just to me, it just sounds like a really dumb theory to think that it's Scopper Gabon. Like, there's no basis for why it would be him. It's just I guess false hope. Like, I genuinely don't think it's Scopper Gabon, like, at all. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like a new character, an old person. And if it is Scopper Gabon, cool. I'm fine with that because I would like to know more about him. But I genuinely don't think it is. Like, to me, it just, whenever I hear like Scopper Gabon is the man marked by flames, I'm like, dude, no, it's not. Shut up. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in chapter 1084 they'll be like, it's Scopper Gabon. He's the man marked by flames. Like, the chapter's called Scopper Gabon, the man marked by flames. I'm like, god damn it. And then this flashback ends with Blackbeard being like, hey, I mean, you have nothing better going on. Why don't you join our crew and follow your own sense of justice? Because everybody who joins this crew, they kind of just follow their own sort of agenda. So I mean, hey, do whatever you want, be part of my crew, you're strong as shit, would be tight to have you. And he joins his crew and then says like, hey, I am the 10th commander of the Blackbeard Pirates. And then like, we always hear the similarities between Blackbeard and Luffy, how like Blackbeard is like Luffy if he followed a more dark path of wanting freedom and all that. And it shows, again, like another similarity, how like, you know, all these crew members have their own dreams and goals. They're just all sort of in one group. And so it's the same thing with Blackbeard, with the Straw Hats, you know, like each side has their own, you know, like characteristics and goals and things like that. But the Straw Hats are more noble, where the Blackbeard Pirates are probably more like evil, sadistic shit, which we probably won't get a whole bunch of flashbacks of all the Blackbeard Pirates, but it's cool to know that, you know, each one of them has their own dreams and goals rather than just like blindly following Blackbeard because he's strong or whatever. So that's tight. So then, speaking of Blackbeard, we cut over to Winter Island, where we get the winner, Blackbeard, and then, you know, all those theories about how like, oh, Blackbeard's just gonna show up to the Straw Hats and be like, room, you know, having Law's fruit, which I knew that was never gonna happen. There was no way. I can definitely imagine, yeah, Blackbeard defeats Law, makes sense. He was ambushed and Blackbeard's just stronger than Law. Like, there was no problem with like Blackbeard clapping Law's cheeks. Like that I'm cool with that. But to say that like, oh, Law's gonna die and have his devil fruit, like that was never gonna happen. Like that's another thing that kind of annoys me about like people who, after reading a chapter One Piece, they just come up with these like just wild out there theories like, oh, Law's dead now. Like, no. Like, I can imagine maybe later in the story he'll be dead, but not after this. What are you talking about? But it kind of sucks that Law was kind of off-screened. Like, even worse than Kid. Law's ship, submarine, gets destroyed. It's like, oh shit. Basically submitted, just like how with Kid a few chapters ago, like, oh, now Kid and Law are out of the race to find the One Piece since they don't have a ship anymore. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're out of the story, which a lot of people assume that was the case with Kid and now Law, that they're just like, oh, so they're done. Like, no, it's because it's just like with Saba Odi, where like, you know, the Straw Hats were defeated, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're out of the story. It just means that, oh, they gotta like figure out something new or regroup or whatever. But then, you know, backtracking a little bit with the theory of, you know, Blackbeard taking Law's devil fruit, because that's what he talks about. It's like, oh, should I take your devil fruit and sell it, or should I take the power for myself, the immortality? So Blackbeard was thinking about it, but he wasn't sure which one to do. But then immediately Beppo comes in clutch with the Sulong form, freaking Dr. Chopper selling his drugs, being like, hey, I got the supply, my guy, and then gives Beppo his rumble ball to, like, you know, make his Sulong form happen, which is really cool to see. And Beppo's Sulong form was awesome as hell. When we first saw some of the Sulong forms, I was a little disappointed that a lot of them weren't really as distinct or unique as I thought they were going to be, because, you know, we saw Carrots first, and Carrots was really fucking cool, and then Inarashi and Nekomamushi's a little not as unique, but still pretty cool. And then all the other ones are kind of like, it's really just like, you know, they're just white and lightning. It's kind of boring after a while, but Beppo's was cool to see. I really liked Beppo's Sulong form. But yeah, no, that was the end of the chapter. Just 15 pages, really dense, like multiple things going on, like the stuff with the Blackbeard Pirates versus Sword members, and then Kuzan's flashback and fighting Garp, and then going to Blackbeard versus Law and all that stuff. Like, so much happened, so much action happened in 15 chapters. It's insane. All these different things happening in Egghead Island. Like, honestly, I feel like Egghead Island is just amazing solely because we're seeing stuff not happening on Egghead Island. Like, the stuff on Egghead Island is interesting and it's really cool, but like, honestly, the stuff happening outside of it is even better. Now, I just want to say before we move on to the next chapter, if this was its own video, 1081 was its own video, I would have said that like, oh, okay, so that means we're just gonna move straight on back to Egghead Island on 1082. Thank God I didn't do that, because I am completely wrong. So, One Piece chapter 1082, let's go and claim it. A little bit more vague this time. It would have been more Oda style if he just said, chapter 1082, Buggy wants to be king of the pirates. So we get just like a fun, cute little cover page of just Chopper eating some clouds. Just, you know, some fun because he thinks it's cotton candy. But then we immediately move from cute little fun things to immediate just like bad news. So T-Bone's dead. Just that's how the chapter starts, just saying like, hey, some dude from Cross Guild killed T-Bone. like, oh shit, dude, that sucks. T-Bone's cool. He was like a really cool Marine. He was like probably one of the few wholesome Marines. And then it's just like, bam, he's dead. It's like, oh god. So I guess now that we're in the final saga, Oda's not nearly as afraid to just start killing off side characters. He just like, after all this time, we like got on Oda for like not killing off characters, and then immediately starts off the chapter by being like, yeah, this character's dead. What about it? Again, this chapter is just dense with like 4 different sections. So section 1 is with the Marines. So Sengoku and Sudo sort of talk about, you know, T-Bone's death and how Cross Guild is becoming a much bigger threat, especially with putting bounties now on the Marines getting a taste of their own medicine. And then, you know, Sudo kind of talks about how like it kind of makes sense with, you know, a lot of more poor nations wanting to do whatever they can to gain money and stuff like that, even going so far as to kill the Marines who are trying to help them. But then over on Buggy's island, we immediately, which nice to see some more Buggy action, love that man. We immediately go to the dude who killed T-Bone, and once you see the dude, it's just some normal like old man, and you can clearly tell that probably what happened was, since T-Bone is just such a nice guy, like he'll do anything to like help some person. He probably like T-Bone probably heard this man's story and just like, yeah, dude, you can kill me if that'll save your family. Go for it. You know, how much am I worth? Like $20? All right, cool. And then, you know, Buggy's like, good job, man. You killed the guy. Hell yeah, yeah. I'm proud of you. And then like makes him part of his crew. But then we immediately get some more wacky shenanigans where, you know, Buggy told Mihawk and Crocodile, was like, I know we need a ship. I got my guys. They can work on it. And then we just see basically the Buggy ship with Buggy's face just right on it. Kind of looks really similar to Big Mom's ship with the face on it and stuff like that. And then we just get this like really hilarious like panel. Probably my favorite panel is like really detailed, scary face of Buggy, like hearing Mihawk and Crocodile be like, yeah, we need to talk. And then just like him just like, oh shit. But then speaking about Mihawk and Crocodile, so Crocodile's talking about, you know, the uprise of Cross Guild and like how he wants to continue building up their military force to build up his utopia like he wanted to do back in Alabasta. So, you know, Crocodile's still on his whole utopia phase, but then Buggy's just like, bro, I don't want to create a utopia. I just want to be a badass pirate and make a bunch of money and stuff like that. I kind of always find it funny, that contrast with like the really super over the top villain who wants to rule the world, and then just like the small little crook guy like Buggy, just like, dude, I just want to do evil shit. Like, I don't want to rule the world. And then we even get a flashback of Buggy's during Roger's execution, or I guess after Roger's execution, where he's talking to Shanks and mentions before that how like, oh, Shanks is now on the road to find the One Piece, which I'm just not really sure how he got that information, but he mentions how this like, well, I mean, now me and Shanks are kind of technically on the same level as both Yonkos. And then during the flashback, talk about how like, you know, he saw Shanks as like the next Gold Roger, and in a way kind of idolized him. It was like, well, I'm never gonna like reach Shanks's level and all that stuff, which not true. Buggy's amazing. He can curb stomp anybody. But then he's, you know, he's trying to see, you know, hope that Shanks will want to follow in Roger's footsteps, but Shanks is like, I mean, I don't really know if I'm there yet. You know, I'm kind of in my feels right now. I don't really think I can like do that just yet. And then Buggy's like, fuck you. You're supposed to be the new Gold Roger and go for the One Piece. You're supposed to be the next main character. Gets mad with Shanks and then like leaves and stuff like that. And then the flashback ends with Buggy being like, well, I've always wanted to be king of the pirates, so fuck it, let's do it. Buggy's like, I want to be the king of the pirates. And after hearing that, just like, oh shit. So now Buggy's in the race. Cross Guild is in the race to want to be king of the pirates. So now literally all 4 Yonko crews are just like, all right, let's find the One Piece. Buggy, Blackbeard, Shanks, Luffy. I forgot him for a second. So all 4 Yonko crews now want to be king of the pirates, which I've been hearing a lot of theories how like, oh, maybe this will be like a 4-way battle between all the 4 Yonko crews via a Davy back fight. And honestly, that's one of the few theories that I am 100% down for, and I hope that happens. It'll be really cool just to like see another Davy back fight, and then even cooler if like during that we actually get to see Foxy again, because we have not seen or heard anything about Foxy since Long Ring Long Land, and you know, Oda likes to bring back characters, so it'll be cool like see this 4-way battle with all these fun quirky little games between the 4 Yonko crews, and then like maybe have Foxy be like the referee or something, or like be a member of Buggy's crew. That'd be tight. Just all that stuff, and then like the winner gets the 4 road poneglyphs to go to Laugh Tale or whatever. That'd be tight. And then plus this would be like a perfect way to just like settle all the fights right then and there, you know, Zoro versus Mihawk and Luffy versus Blackbeard, you know, maybe Shanks will die, stuff like that, you know, because I could see, you know, Luffy's crew and Shanks' crew being like the 2 noble fighting fair guys, and then Buggy and Blackbeard are like the more mischievous guys, with Buggy being like the more like goofy mischievous one, and then Blackbeard being like the no, straight up just like I'm going to kill you like type of people. And then the last bit of this chapter, section 4, is with the Revolutionary Army, showing some more new members of the Revolutionary Army. I like the girl with the robot arm. She looks tight. And then, you know, apparently Sabo's back. He's alive, which, to be fair, I knew Sabo wasn't going to be dead, but it's kind of just very, like, the no tension at all. Just like, yep, Sabo's alive. Like, hey, it's me, guys. It's Sabo. I'm here. And then he's with some of the residents of Lulusia Kingdom. And then some of those members are like, hey, we want to be members of the Revolutionary Army and stuff like that. Even the Milk Girl's like, I want to be a member of the Revolutionary Army, which this is cool. So their army is slowly growing. And then the chapter ends with Sabo talking to Ivankov and Dragon and be like, hey, I saw some wacky shit going on in Mary Joas, and I'm going to talk about it. And that's how the chapter ends. Chapter 1083, The Truth About That Day, immediately continues right from where we left off. This is so just not what I normally would expect from Oda. This was prime time, just like, all right, cool. I'm gonna blue ball you on a cliffhanger for 5 years and then just go back to Egghead Island. But no, we're just gonna continue right from where we left off. Just Sabo being like, okay, cool. Here's what I know. Here's what happened. So yeah, we get another cute little cover page of Doflamingo kind of tending to a bird in distress. And when I saw this cover page, my first thought was like, oh, is this the first time we've ever seen Doflamingo in a cover page? I mean, we probably have before, but I have been paying too much attention to like the cover pages. So, and this also kind of gave me the vibes of the one cover page with like Crocodile doing the sand bathing with the birds. Kind of gave me the same vibes, which is cute. So revolutionaries, starting with them. So Sabo's talking to them about the success of their mission initially with destroying the food supply of the Celestial Dragons, declaring war on the Celestial Dragons, and rescuing Kuma and different things like that. And then Dragon even mentions how 7 of the 12 nations decided not to be a part, like work for the Celestial Dragons anymore. So like the Celestial Dragons are really starting to lose a lot of their military might and influence and stuff like that, which is great. Fuck the Celestial Dragons, specifically St. Charles. But then Dragon mentions something that is both super shonen and also a little bit annoying at this point. So he mentions how, oh no, we gotta be careful because they'll release the 9 holy knights. I'm just like, dude, another numbered group of people, because first we had the 7 warlords of the sea, then the 4 emperors, and then the 11 supernovas, making it 12 with Blackbeard for the worst generation, and then the flying 6, and now you're telling me, okay, now we have the 9 holy knights. Like, oh, dude, that's so shonen. And then recently, the dumbest theory, another dumb theory that I've been hearing is that oh, one of the 9 holy knights, it's Shanks' evil twin or evil clone. I'm like, dude, thank God none of y'all are writing for One Piece. That definitely is not the case. Could it potentially be Shanks? That's a little bit better because, you know, Shanks, the theory of Shanks potentially being a world noble, since he was there at Mary Joas talking to the 5 Elder Stars, and the 5 Elder Stars being like, it's cool, it's Shanks, we'll talk to him. So I could definitely believe that Shanks is a world noble, just like how Doflamingo was a celestial dragon and different things like that. I could believe that because I believe Shanks being a holy knight. Maybe that's a hard maybe, a very, 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 very hard maybe. Shanks' evil twin or evil clone? Hell no, not even close. There's no way that's the case. But then there's also a theory that one of the holy knights, or that Shanks is a clone of one of the holy knights. That's slightly better, but still an out there theory. But then, you know, we continue the whole thing with King Cobra, Vivi's dad being dead. And then, you know, there was this long sort of worry about how Sabo was the one who killed Cobra. Because when you see the newspaper, you know, Sabo is out there doing the gritty over on King Cobra's dead corpse. And so, you know, Ivankov and Dragon asked, like, hey, did you kill King Cobra? And then Sabo's like, I didn't do it, but I mean, like, honestly, I'm kind of cool with Cobra being dead to feel like, you know, help with things, which kind of fucked up, Sabo. And then the chapter ends on a action-packed note where Sabo kind of talks about a little bit on the Battle of Mary Joas that happened 1 month ago in the story. So here's a crazy thing. So this happened a month ago in the context of the story, but in real time, this was 5 years ago. Like, I was watching Grand Line Review's video of this chapter, and he mentioned how the last time we got anything about this was 5 years ago, and it's finally being shown, like, hey, here was the battle that happened on Mary Joas with the revolutionaries versus the admirals and stuff like that. Like, that's insane to me, because all that time was spent on Whole Cake and Wano, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe just all of Wano. We were seeing the revolutionaries fighting the celestial dragons, and celestial dragons running away, being all just despicable pieces of shit and stuff like that, getting what they deserved. And we get to see more of Karasu, probably the coolest member of the celestial dragons, and we actually get to, like, learn what his devil fruit is. It's the soot fruit, the soot. Yeah, soot fruit. He has the power of soot, like all that dirt and weird shit, and he can, like, make crows. It's not like, oh, he has a weird sort of Logia Zoan mix. It's like, no, it is a Logia fruit where he makes crows because he clearly likes crows, having, like, you know, the crow mask and stuff like that. And even weirder that he can make the soot crows talk, which is interesting. But yeah, Karasu, fucking dope character. And we get to see him fighting Fujitora, and then the other revolutionary member fighting Green Bull and all that. And, you know, Fujitora and Green Bull mentions how they can't really fight at full force because, you know, they're on the Holy Land. They don't want to injure the celestial dragons and stuff like that. But then Fujitora's like, fuck it, I'm gonna summon a meteor. But then Green Bull's like, no, don't do that, please don't do that. For me, personally, the craziest thing about this chapter was seeing the members of CP9 canonically and officially being members of CP0. We get to see, you know, I'm already forgetting their names, more in tune with them as being. And then the chapter ends with King Cobra being like, hey, so clearly I'ma die, but Pell and Chaka, you guys take care of Vivi, because, you know, shit's gonna go down. I'm gonna go talk to the 5 other stars. And that's how the chapter ends. Basically be like, okay, this is how King Cobra actually died, and all these things. That's my review for all 3 chapters, for 1081 through 1083. Man, it's crazy that, like, we haven't seen the Straw Hats for 5 chapters at this point, and that's been almost 2 months. It has been, because of all these different breaks and things like that, it's been almost 2 months since we've seen the Straw Hats. So normally I'd be like, okay, next chapter, we're gonna go back to the Straw Hats. But what I'm thinking is that, like, okay, 1084, we're gonna actually see how King Cobra died and get some more things going on with the revolutionaries, and maybe even see, like, Emu and stuff like that. Or I guess just learn more about the 5 other stars. So I can imagine that happening on 1084, and then 1085 is when we will finally go back to the Straw Hats on Egghead Island and continue that story. That's my prediction. At this point, I'm not surprised I'll be wrong. Maybe, fuck it. Maybe next chapter we'll see what's going on with, I don't know, Gin. Maybe Gin will show up. You'll be like, I'm one of the 9 holy knights. I don't know. But yeah, I know a lot of crazy things going on with One Piece. Egghead Island. The fact that this is the start of the final saga is insane. Like, Egghead Island is a phenomenal, great arc to start with for the final saga, and I'm glad with everything that's going on and all that. There's nothing to predict. It's great. It's fantastic. I'm loving it every step of the way, and I'm really excited for what happens in the next couple of chapters. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about chapter 1081 through 1083, your theories, thoughts, opinions, what you liked, what you hated, and all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next review. Thank you guys very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, the whole YouTube shebang, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.